This gangster made $30 billion selling narcotics. That's more than Netflix's annual revenue. And enough to buy Twitter twice over. He literally offered to pay off his entire country's national debt. And he's not even the richest criminal on this list. Can you guess? Which criminal made this insane offer? The answer will shock you, and he's coming up at number 2. Quick shout out to Bet McSheffrey. You're doing great things for this channel, and we enjoy having you here. These 7 criminals didn't just break laws. They built criminal empires that rivaled entire nations, from drug cartels to prohibition syndicates. They accumulated wealth so vast, they commanded private armies and corrupted governments. Let's count down the 7 richest criminals in human history. Starting with number 7, Frank Lucas. Frank Lucas turned Harlem into his personal drug empire and made himself filthy rich doing it. At his peak in the 1970s, Lucas was pulling in up to $1 million every single day selling heroin. His secret? He cut out the Italian mafia completely and went straight to the source in Southeast Asia. Lucas claimed he smuggled pure heroin using military connections from Vietnam, though this has been disputed by investigators. His signature product, Blue Magic, was so pure, it dominated the streets. Lucas was moving $300,000 worth of heroin per kilo, while his competitors struggled with inferior products. By the time authorities caught up with him, Frank Lucas had stashed away an estimated $52 million in offshore accounts and real estate across multiple states. That's roughly $280 million in today's money. His empire was so massive, it inspired the movie American Gangster, starring Denzel Washington. Lucas's downfall began when he wore a $100,000 chinchilla coat to the 1971 Muhammad Ali fight. That turned him from unknown to marked man. The DA finally raided his mansion in 1975, finding $584,000 in cash. Sentenced to 70 years. Lucas became an informant to reduce his sentence, but was convicted again in 1984. The man who made millions daily died nearly broke in 2019. But Lucas's millions are pocket change compared to our number 6. This next criminal didn't just dominate one city, he controlled an entire country's alcohol trade and made Lucas look like a small timer. Number 6, Al Capone. While Frank Lucas was making millions in Harlem, Capone was building the ultimate criminal empire in Chicago. During Prohibition, Capone didn't just sell illegal alcohol. He controlled an entire city at his peak in the late 1920s. Capone's organization was pulling in $100 million annually. That's over $1.5 billion in today's money. His bootlegging operation alone brought in $60 million per year, while his gambling houses, brothels, and protection rackets brought in the rest. Capone was so wealthy, he owned politicians, judges, and entire police departments. He spent $30,000 on custom suits, more than most people made in a decade. His Miami mansion cost him $40,000, when the average American home sold for $3,000. But here's what made Capone truly dangerous. He legitimized his wealth through legal businesses. Laundromats, restaurants, bowling alleys. Capone invented money laundering before it even had a name. On October 17, 1931, he was convicted of tax evasion and sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. By his 1939 release, Prohibition was over, and other mobsters had taken control. The man who once ruled Chicago died powerless in 1947. This next criminal mastermind didn't just control one city. He helped create Las Vegas and ran the entire American underworld's finances. Number 5, Meyer Lansky. Meet the man they called the mob's accountant. Meyer Lansky didn't just run criminal operations, he revolutionized them. While Al Capone was making headlines, Lansky was quietly building a financial empire. That would make Capone's Chicago outfit look like amateur hour. His personal cut from every major criminal enterprise in America, an estimated $300 million over his career. That's $2.8 billion in today's money. But here's where Lansky got really smart. He didn't just steal money, he laundered it through legitimate businesses and offshore accounts, decades before anyone else figured out how. Lansky pioneered money laundering techniques that banks still use today. His crown jewel was Cuba in the 1950s. Lansky controlled every major casino in Havana, skimming millions, while dictator Batista looked the other way. Before Castro's revolution shut it down, Lansky's Cuban operation was generating $20 million annually. That's $200 million per year in today's money. But unlike other crime bosses, Lansky's downfall was more like a strategic retreat. Castro's 1959 revolution destroyed his empire overnight. Facing pressure from U.S. authorities, Lansky fled to Israel in 1970, but was expelled and returned to the U.S. in 1972. His age and failing health helped him avoid any major convictions. Lansky died in 1983, claiming poverty, taking his financial secrets to the grave. The man who built a multi-billion-dollar empire died officially broke. Lansky may have died a free man, but his legacy still whispers through every corner of organized crime today. But even Lansky's sophisticated financial empire pales compared to our number 4. This next criminal didn't just launder money, she controlled an entire country's economy. Number 4, Griselda Blanco. Griselda Blanco owned Miami's cocaine trade in the 1980s. The cocaine godmother didn't just sell drugs. She revolutionized the entire industry. At her peak, Blanco was moving 3,400 pounds of cocaine per month into the United States. Each shipment generated $8 million in profit. That's over $96 million annually, equivalent to $300 million today. Blanco's innovation was brutal efficiency. She pioneered drive-by shootings, created the first cocaine distribution networks, and eliminated competition with ruthless precision. But here's what made her truly dangerous. Blanco laundered her money through legitimate businesses across Colombia and the US. Real estate, restaurants, and clothing stores. She built a financial empire worth an estimated $2 billion at its peak. But Blanco's violence made too many enemies. The DEA hunted her for a decade after she fled to Colombia in 1975. Finally caught in California in 1985, she was convicted and sentenced to 15 years, then faced additional murder charges. After serving 20 years total, she was deported to Colombia in 2004. In 2012, 2 gunmen on a motorcycle shot her down outside a butcher shop, the same execution style she had made famous. Even Blanco's massive cocaine fortune looks small compared to our number 3. This next criminal controlled the entire Golden Triangle and made Blanco's Miami operation look like a corner store. Griselda Blanco controlled Miami's cocaine, but Khun Sa controlled something far more valuable: the entire Golden Triangle heroin trade. For over 30 years, this Burmese warlord ran the world's largest drug empire. Khun Sa's operation produced 60% of the world's heroin supply. His private army of 20,000 soldiers protected poppy fields across Myanmar, Thailand, and Laos. The numbers are staggering: 800 tons of opium annually, generating $5 billion in revenue. Unlike other drug lords, Khun Sa operated like a legitimate government. He collected taxes, built roads, ran schools, and even issued his own currency. His Mongtai army controlled territory larger than Switzerland. At his peak in the 1990s, Khun Sa's net worth reached an estimated $5 billion. He owned banks in Thailand, real estate across Southeast Asia, and legitimate businesses that laundered his heroin profits. The man was so powerful that the US government offered $2 million for his capture, the highest bounty ever placed on a drug lord at the time. Khun Sa's empire crumbled under pressure from multiple fronts. Operation Tiger Trap severed his supply chains. Rival armies attacked his territory, and Myanmar military surrounded his stronghold. Facing complete encirclement and internal rebellion within his own army, Khun Sa surrendered to the Myanmar government on January 5, 1996. He lived under house arrest in Yangon until his death in 2007 at age 73. But this next person became the richest criminal in human history. Number 2, Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar built the most profitable criminal empire in history. At his peak in the 1980s, the Medellin cartel was generating $420 million per week. That's $21.8 billion annually. Escobar's cocaine operation supplied 80% of the world's cocaine. His organization was moving 15 tons of cocaine daily into the United States, charging $60,000 per kilogram. The math is insane. Escobar was making $70 million every single day. The man had so much cash, he spent $2,500 monthly, just on rubber bands to wrap his money. His organization lost 10% of their cash reserves annually, roughly $2 billion, simply to rats eating the bills and water damage in storage facilities. Forbes listed Pablo Escobar as the 7th richest man in the world, with a net worth of $30 billion. He owned 19 different residences, a private zoo, and his own airline. Escobar literally burned $2 million in cash to keep his daughter warm during one night in hiding. Escobar's wealth was so massive that in the late 1980s, he offered to pay off Colombia's entire $10 billion national debt in exchange for amnesty from extradition. The government rejected his offer. Just like Griselda Blanco, Escobar's extreme violence was his downfall. This would turn all of Colombia against him. After escaping prison in 1992, he was hunted by the elite search bloc and the vigilante group Los Pepes, who killed over 300 of his allies. Isolated and paranoid, Escobar made a fatal mistake on December 2, 1993. He stayed too long on a phone call to his family. Search bloc traced the call and shot him dead on a rooftop in Medellin, ending the most violent chapter in drug trafficking history. But believe it or not, even Pablo Escobar's $30 billion cocaine empire wasn't the most profitable criminal organization ever created. Our #1 criminal mastermind built something far more sophisticated and valuable. Number 1, Semion Mogilevich. Pablo Escobar sold cocaine, but Semion Mogilevich manipulated entire economies. This Ukrainian-born criminal mastermind didn't just steal money. He controlled financial chaos itself and made himself the world's most powerful criminal. Mogilevich's empire spans money laundering, arms trafficking, nuclear materials smuggling, and massive financial fraud. His organization has generated an estimated $100 billion over 3 decades, making Escobar's fortune look small. The FBI calls him the most dangerous mobster in the world. Mogilevich's schemes include the YBM Magnex fraud that cost investors $150 million, massive fuel tax evasion operations worth $2 billion annually, and money laundering networks that process $10 billion yearly. Unlike other criminals who eventually got caught, Mogilevich operates in plain sight. He owns legitimate businesses, banks, and has connections to government officials across multiple countries. His net worth is estimated between $10 to $100 billion. But the real number remains unknown. Here's what makes Mogilevich truly terrifying. He doesn't just break laws. He exploits the gaps between different countries' legal systems. While other criminals built empires that eventually fell, Mogilevich created a financial web so complex that authorities can't even figure out how to prosecute him. Unlike every other criminal on this list, Mogilevich's empire is still standing. He was briefly arrested in Russia in 2008, but released in 2009. The FBI offered $5 million for his capture, but removed him from their most wanted list in 2015 because he lives in a country without extradition. Today, Mogilevich continues living openly in Moscow, protected by alleged connections to high-level Russian officials. The brainy Don proved the ultimate criminal empire isn't built on violence. It's built on understanding the global financial system better than those trying to regulate it. The world's richest criminal is still out there, still operating and still making money. So there you have it, the 7 richest criminals in history and their spectacular downfalls. From Frank Lucas's empire destroyed by a chinchilla coat, to Semion Mogilevich's billion-dollar syndicate that the FBI still can't touch. Here's the real lesson. Every single criminal empire eventually collapsed, except one. Lucas's flashy display, Capone's tax evasion, Blanco's violence, Khun Sa's surrender, Escobar's brutality. They all followed predictable patterns. Only Mogilevich understood that the most sustainable criminal empire isn't built on violence. It's built on exploiting the global financial system itself. If these shocking criminal empires got your blood pumping, smash that subscribe button and join the Capital Quest family. We're exposing the wealth secrets that the powerful don't want you to discover. Drop a comment right now. Which criminal downfall shocked you the most? Escobar's rooftop death, or the fact that Mogilevich is still out there operating? I read every single comment,